Episode 186, bonus episode. Today we preview the 2025 MLB Draft with Just Baseball's amateur scouting director and co-host of On the Clock Pod, Tyler Jennings. You are listening to the Bucko Banner podcast brought to you by the Just Baseball Media Network. Cue the music.
Rockin' 101, she compliment my taste. Whiskey in my lemonade, cause I like the way it tastes. Best seats at the Pirates game, they let me run the base. Yeah, my time is like my money, cause I can't afford to waste. Wifey is a lawyer, take my date to my dates. Order steak by the plates, and in case after case, run my race at my pace, clear the grass of the snake.
Welcome back to another episode of Bucko Banner. Today I'm excited to be joined by Tyler Jennings, fellow Just Baseball guy. Tyler, I'm excited to chop it up with you and talk 2025 MLB Draft.
Likewise, man. I'm excited to be here, and I'm ready for everything to come this way and get ready for the draft this weekend.
Absolutely. Well, let's get right into it, man. First off, tell me about this class in general. Like, what are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? How does it compare to other classes?
Yeah, so admittedly, we've talked about this before, where this year's draft class is admittedly just not as strong as some of the other classes. At the top, we don't have as much talent. So, like the past couple of years, like 2023 specifically, you obviously have Rhett Lauder, Paul Skeens, Wyatt Langford, Dylan Cruz, all in the big leagues at this point, and contributing in their own respective rights. 2024, we've already got a few guys already up here with Cam Smith, Nick Kurtz. This year, I really just don't see a player that can provide that kind of value so quickly. There's a lot of what ifs and a lot of question marks surrounding a lot of guys at the top, and there is some depth to this class, but it's not something that's like going to come out and grab you or anything like that. It's more of like it's there, and there's probably a couple of gems you can find down somewhere in like the third to fifth rounds or even farther than that. But compared to other classes, this is definitely one of the weakest ones we've had in recent memory. And if there's any bright spots to kind of watch at the top, it's the prep shortstop class and it's college pitching. I think those are going to be off the board very, very quickly in both demographics. And I would give shortstop, the shortstop preps, the prep shortstops on that side, they are very, very strong this year in terms of raw talent. Like I was on the call-up pod the other day with Aram, and there's a 1A and a 1B tier for the prep shortstops. And it was Ethan Holiday, Willits, Billy Carlson, and I think I threw in JoJo Parker as 1A, and then the 1B was Casey Cunningham, Daniel Pierce, Steele Hall. So there's going to be quite a few guys that I feel within the top 15 are going to be taken pretty quickly. So those are the two strongest parts. Weaknesses, college hitting. College hitting is awful this year. I'm sorry. There's a lot of question marks even surrounding Ava Arquette's hit tool at this point. And as you go down the list, there was just not really anybody that's really turned a page or really stepped up this year with, Jace Laviolette falling from 1-1 to might be a top, not even be a top 25 pick. So, we'll see what happens, but that's just to say this draft class right now. So it's definitely something. We'll give it that much. I won't crap on it, but it's something.
I think compared to last year's class, we had the 9th pick, and we really wanted college bats because this is an organization that produces arms. We don't have many bats at upper levels. Right now, it's Tamar Johnson. You could talk about Jack Brannigan. You could talk about now as Merlin Valdez and Omar Alfonso hits the ball really hard, but like not a surefire big leaguer in the top half of this organization. So we're like, let's just pile up on the college bats. And you had Braden Montgomery, you had James Tibbs, you had JJ Weatherholt, who I was hoping would fall. He's a Pittsburgh kid. And we got Connor Griffin. And hindsight's pretty funny. My reaction was like, really? We're taking a prep guy, a prep bat, who's gonna take a while to get here. But he's moving very quickly and very advanced for his age. We've talked to him twice here on Bucko Banner. Great kid. I'm very high on him. I think he's going to move quicker than most prep guys. You can't count on these prep guys to move that fast. But it seems like the college bats in this draft at the top, you got Ava Arquette and Ike Irish. Those guys would probably, in last year's class, be in the 10 to 20 range. Would you agree with that?
I'll go one step further and say they might not even be top 20 picks in totality. Like, we look at what next year probably provides, and I've started my scouting on that class. That class at the top looks very, very good for next
Hmm.
year, especially in terms of college bats. Like the college bats this year compared to next year, they don't hold a candle to them right now. But I would say even guys like Ethan Holiday might even be a fringe top 8 prospect in a much stronger class. There's a lot of guys at the top that are really benefiting from the fact that this draft class doesn't have a ton at the top. And like I had mentioned with the college bats, like we came into the year Jace Laviolette at the 1-1 pick, the 1-1 favorite. He's not proven he can hit. I understand, like, yes, 70 power from the left side, but I think he's a platoon risk, and I think his profile is really staying afloat because of the fact that he's an outlier athlete at 6'6", 240 and can play center field. And you look at a couple other guys like Brendan Summerhill, who had an injury like halfway through the year, broke his hand, and the power just never really came. Like we all thought he was going to hit for a lot of power this year. It's really kind of on the verge of 40 power at best right now, even with a 60 hit tool. So there's just a lot of question marks with some of these guys. But overall, like Cade Anderson could be a fringe top 5 guy in a stronger class. It's a down year in general in terms of talent.
Kind of reminds me of the Henry Davis class a little bit, to be honest with you. But looking at your top 300 prospects here on Just Baseball, trying to map out who could fall to 6. To me, and correct me if I'm wrong here, the only locks to be in the top 5 are probably Willits, Holiday, and Cade Anderson. Would you add anyone to that mix, or do you disagree with any of those names?
So as of right now, depending on whichever scenario does work out, I think Liam Doyle is going to be a top 5 pick regardless.
Okay.
I can see I see a world where he probably falls to Cincinnati, but I think at this point, assuming majors, which has its ups and downs, like they've had a couple really good first rounders in recent memory, Christian Moore, Nolan Shanuel, Zach Neto are really standing out, but they just don't have a ton after that. And if it's Ethan Holiday at 1, then Liam Doyle is probably gone by Colorado. So I would argue there's 4 guys. I think Avar Arquette is not quite a lock, but he's getting there. I feel like Seattle's kicking the tires there, but if he gets past Seattle, he's not a top 5 pick.
Okay. No, that makes sense. I've seen, I think in your latest mock, and we'll get into that in a little bit, you had him at 3 to Seattle. But the Pirates have picked 6 and 50. So they don't have a comp pick. They go from 6 and they don't pick until later in the first day. No, they have the 9th largest bonus pool. But do you see them potentially? I've seen ideas of them floating around an underslot to maybe like an Ike Irish if you really want a college bat. Or I don't know, Billy Carlson. I don't know if he would necessarily be an underslot at 6, but do you see that as a possibility in this weak class?
I definitely do. And from what we've heard, I think Pittsburgh is leaning towards taking a college guy, whether it's a bat or an
Okay.
arm at this point. You mentioned Ike Irish. For my own sake, like Ike Irish is an underrated bat. I understand he's not a catcher, and that really devalues his profile a little bit, but it's a really safe bet to hit. I think there's power there. You can clean up the swing a little bit, kind of what we've done with Connor Griffin a little bit. Like his swing really got overhauled over the offseason, and now here we are. He's got like what 12 home runs, 40 stolen bases. Like he looks like a true power speed threat. So I think that's a scenario we can see happening. I know we put Jamie Arnold there, and I feel like Jamie Arnold slipping out of the top 5 does have some teams thinking in that 6 to 10 range. Like, do we take a gamble on a guy that had admittedly a quote unquote down year, I guess, because his fastball command kind of backed up a bit. He really wasn't getting the same kind of swing and miss that he was a year ago. And for a guy that has a unique profile like him, where he really does rely on his unicorn abilities, like the low release point, the low approach angle that really helps his profile stand out amongst the crowd just wasn't really there this year.
Mm-hmm.
So given given Pittsburgh's ability to develop arms, they've done a fantastic job on that front in recent years. It does feel like a good fit to see Jamie Arnold go to Pittsburgh. If there's anybody else thrown there, if Ava Arquette falls down to 6, I could see them pulling the trigger there. I've seen Seth Hernandez thrown around there, and again, it's just really a question of patience with the prep
Prep arm.
demographic.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like you look at the past 10 years, who's the one arm currently that's still throwing? It's Hunter Green, and again, Jackson Jobe, yes, he did get a cup of coffee both last year and this year, but now he's down with TJ. Hunter Green had Tommy John at one point, so it's a long waiting game. And as much as Pittsburgh probably is in a window to where they have enough time to kind of play with that, it's just such a volatile demographic that I just don't know if ownership or the front office has the patience to really wait on a guy like that with the kind of stuff that he has. So that's why I'm inclined to think that like Hernandez would slip it past Pittsburgh in this scenario. But I think right now, like Jamie Arnold, Ike Irish, you could throw Arquette in there as a potential guy. Those are the main guys to really focus on for Pittsburgh as a fan right now to kind of get read up on, get used to, because they very well could be in your farm system come Sunday evening.
That was going to be my next question. I was going to say, let's start big picture here. What's your overall sense of how the Pirates are, approaching this draft? And it sounds like they're really focusing on college guys. So let's play a little scenario here. If it was Arquette and Arnold available at 6, who do you think the Pirates go after?
I would take the gamble on Arquette. Pitching in and of itself, like I had mentioned with Seth Hernandez, is just volatile as it is. There's a good chance Jimmy Arnold's not the same guy within 2 years as you look at Arquette, where there's the potential for him to be an advanced big league shortstop. Granted, yes, he's 6'5", 220, but he's really shown to us scouts this year that, like, hey, he can play shortstop at the next level. I think the play that really set him apart on a bigger stage was the play he made in Omaha, where huge range to his left, did the spin, made a big league style play in Omaha. That really, if you were a common fan watching that and you saw that and kind of understood that, yes, this is a guy that's really eligible this year and could be a big leaguer in the future, that's a play you go look at and say, he's a legitimate shortstop. He's got the arm strength, he's got the range, he's got the flexibility and athleticism to make it work, and there's above average power there. There is some question marks with the hit tool. He's a bit aggressive. The swing and miss is there, but if you're looking at a guy that can legitimately stay at shortstop and has the kind of impact potentially that he has, I would take him over the arm that could be much different within a 2 to 3 year time span. That's just my philosophy in terms of looking at it, but that's what I would do.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big proponent too of like taking the best player available, because I think a draft is, well, especially a Major League Baseball draft, is a crapshoot. And sometimes you don't see guys for a couple years. If you're lucky, a year. But you got to take the best guy available. That's why last year I was like, all right, we'll trust the Connor Griffin pick because they obviously see something in him. He was the top prep player. Do you see, like, this is only 1 year into the Justin Horowitz regime. He's our amateur scouting director. He's the one guy I trust in this organization right now, because it seems like I know. It seems like that first draft, small sample size, he did pretty well. And it seems like there's more talent at the lower levels right now. Do you see any organizational trends in the Pirates draft last year? I mean, I know it's only 1 year of a sample size, but do you see anything that they're focusing on that we could maybe look out for in this year's draft?
Yeah, I think one thing to look out for is, I know last year, it was very prep heavy at the top too.
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken.
It was Griffin, Sanford, and Levi Sterling, I think.
Yeah. Yep. It was, and then like Josh Hartle was kind of there to save some money. Eddie Renders was a
And
guy
he's in
that,
Cleveland now.
yeah. So I like the idea of what they did last year, where they took some high upside prep guys to kind of. I will say this much: I absolutely loved Levi Sterling a year ago, and he was one of my glue guys coming out of his junior year of high school, where he walks up to USA and he just shoves, and you can tell that there's at minimum a back end starter profile with him, and he was super young for the class, so. I like the value that they got there. Wyatt Sanford was really good. So I like what they did last year. And I think this year, you can probably play with that a little bit, especially on the prep side, because the prep side is the better at the two classes. I genuinely would not be shocked to see Pittsburgh, go underslot with whoever they take at 6, which I on a bigger scale, I just don't know how many teams go overslot in the top 10 right now,
Mm-hmm.
just with the fact that the bonuses are so high. Like 11 million for the first overall pick in this class. There's just nobody that can really stand out and get 10 mil, in my opinion. But that's a topic for another day. Basically, like I 100% see Pittsburgh taking underslot 6 and then saving up for a pretty big prep at 50. And there's been rumors abound over the past week about some guys being drawn back into the second round to be taken and get signed for overslot. It might happen more than you think this year, especially with the change of focusing more on the transfer portal in college. I know some people have talked about that recently, and it's a hot topic. But you look at schools like University of Georgia, where most of their, if not all of their freshman pitching from their 2024 recruiting class is now at different schools or they're in the portal because Wes Johnson just prioritizes the portal and is pushing, older talent onto his roster. So you kind of wonder, how does this affect the prep side and how do these preps kind of look at this moving forward? Is there going to be a change in their philosophies going to school? Is that better for you? Or do we go to a smaller school, which in turn would make it easier for a team to buy you out of that commitment to go pro because now you're kind of like not in limbo per se, but you're using the development route, saying like JUCO to D1. It's more of like a mid-major D1 to you can be SEC or ACC within 2 years if everything pans out. So, long-winded answer, but that's basically where my mind is right now.
I love that because that kind of provoked an idea in my mind. Like next year, I think the question's going to be, and I was going to pick your brain about this. Do you think there's going to be more guys that don't sign because of the looming CBA that might go to college instead, get that NIL money that might vastly improve the college product too?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the college product has improved over the past few years, but you got to think that that's maybe an option for next year's class.
It very well could, and we'll have to see how everything kind of pans out on that. Right now, I know was it Rob Manfred and the owners are pushing for a salary cap.
Yeah.
In my thought processes on this, I feel like a salary cap is anti-player and pro-owner.
Yep.
That's essentially what it is. Um, and if you put a cap in, you got to put a floor in. You can't just have the cap and say, oh well, these teams can still have these low payrolls. I kind of like the idea of just having a floor and keeping the luxury tax.
So
Personally.
that's always, I'm really happy you said that because the luxury tax is like a de facto cap anyway.
Yeah,
And I've always been a big proponent of a floor because everyone talks about these big markets. You need an incentive for these small market owners to spend money.
yeah.
That's the only way you're going to bring about parity in this game.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, no, that's definitely something that could come up next year. I want to get into some of the prep guys real quick. I hate to say like compare anyone to Connor Griffin. I was going to ask you if you think there's any type of breakout prep guys like a Connor Griffin this year, but I want to transition that into more the prep shortstop scene. Say the college guys are all both gone or mostly gone, and the Pirates decide to go prep shortstop. Billy Carlson and JoJo Parker are two hot names. Personally, I love JoJo Parker's profile. I'm a big, hit tool guy. I think that's something that's maybe easier. It's not as easy to learn as it is to, like you either have it or you don't. It's like change up feel with a pitcher. Um, JoJo Parker would be my pick if I between him and Carlson, but I understand the upside with Billy Carlson because he's maybe a 70 defender.
Mhm.
Let's talk about the differences between these two and who would you prefer at 6 between both of them? Because I think you've had Carlson mock the Pirates before.
Yeah, we did at one point, and I want to say it was on 2.0 or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Um, but the big differences between the two for me has been like with Carlson. I'll go with him first. Like, yes, he's more of a projection play. He's highly athletic. There's super stupid twitch in his profile, both at the plate and at shortstop. And the biggest thing for him is you mentioned the 70 glove at shortstop. That's very valuable for anybody. It gives him kind of like a higher floor because you know there's going to be value derived from the glove moving forward. Right now, I think the swing needs a bit of overhaul. Personally, like he's got a tight coil in his core, where like his hips really just fire, and that's a key indicator of potential power coming forward, especially if he fills out his profile a bit. He's like 6'1", 175, so if he gets to like 190, I feel like that's going to be a power jump. But he doesn't chase a ton. It's not a guy that is swinging and missing and everything, but it's more of a potential above average hit tool, and maybe the power gets to average or maybe even above average if he fills his frame out properly. But you go from that to JoJo, where JoJo's a left-handed hitter. Guys have put 70s on the hit tool. He doesn't swing and miss. He doesn't chase. He handles his fastballs very, very well. I think him and his brother collectively may have had single-digit whiffs on fastballs all summer last year. And I think JoJo may have had just one. So
it would be poetic for the Pirates to dip into the Mississippi prep scene 2 years in a row. I think. I don't know.
That would be, but holy cow. Anyways, with JoJo, you have that hit tool prowess. I think he grows into more power too. Like, I think right now, I think he's more of an average guy, but I can see above average power production from that. And teams are going to value the left-handed bat over the right guy.
Sure.
That's just how I've kind of looked at it from a scouting standpoint. Is there's more eyes going to be on the lefty guy more than anything. And I think saying eyes is probably the worst way to describe it. But I can't really think of the name or the right description to really describe it. But they're going to be higher valued for scouts. And if there's anything that Parker doesn't have, what Carlson has is the glove. Like, we don't know if he's a shortstop. I think he might be a third baseman at the next level, where he's more of like an average guy and not a double plus defender like Carlson is. So kind of moving forward, you look at a guy that is going to have most of his value derived from the bat, but it's a really, really good bat. So, and he might be a guy that kind of grows into athleticism a bit, maybe handles the 6 better than what he is now. But for me, I would gamble more on the upside with Carlson, assuming that what happened with Connor Griffin can happen to him, and knowing that there is something to derive from both sides of the ball here, whereas Parker's more of like a one-dimensional piece in a larger puzzle, because we just don't know where he's going to fit defensively at the next level.
I think the word swing adjustment scares me a little bit because I don't have much confidence in the Pirates developing bats right now. And Connor Griffin had the same label on him. So I'm like, I'm trying to bring myself back to earth here a little bit. But he also has a dad who's like I think he's a softball coach, but his dad works with him quite a bit. And he definitely made a ton of adjustments before the season. So I think I'd be happy with both of them. But right now my preference is Parker. I know we're running over a little bit. I just got two more questions for you. First, give me some late round sleepers. Who are some guys that we might see at 50 that could be intriguing?
So most of the guys I expect to be available closer to the beginning of the second round, look at guys like Coy James from Davie County, North Carolina. He's a guy that really didn't have the greatest summer last year. I knew he was injured for a little bit, but it's a aggressive mindset to plate. He likes to swing, and the power has really jumped up this year, specifically this spring. Like I heard a bunch of area scouts here talk about how the power is really taken the step forward this year, and he's really pushed himself into second round territory. So he's a guy that could fit there. Cooper Fleming, he's a guy from, I believe, I can't remember which part of California he's from, but I think it's SoCal, where he is very projectable.
It could be Corona because everyone's from Corona this year. So
it's true. Corona's got a really, really stupid team.
yeah.
But like with Fleming, it's a very polished left-handed swing. He takes tight turns to the baseball. It's really projectable. I think there's a blend of hit and power to kind of project upon there. And he can play shortstop, and he's also been up to 93 on the mound. So he's a two-way guy that I think people are going to take as a shortstop legitimately. And if there's anybody to kind of put the label of a potential Cole Emerson or like Cole Young kind of guy that the Mariners have really developed well, he's the kind of guy that could, provide that kind of value at the next level. So he's the guy to kind of watch there. If there's any arms to kind of watch, like AJ Russell from Tennessee, I understand there's, injury history there. But in terms of a guy that has so much value from his stuff, the fastball is one of the best in the entire class. Stupid low launch. It's a very flat approach angle. It gets on guys very quickly. He has a slider and changeup to go with it. He's been bounced around in roles, but I think he might be a starter long term. He's a guy to kind of watch for as well. But I think in general, like most of these prep guys, like James, Fleming, you could probably even throw a few other guys like Jordan Yost in there from Florida, whose brother's at the University of Florida, Hayden Yost. So,
yeah.
So there's a few guys to kind of watch there, but those are four names, in my opinion, that kind of get into that range if they're not taken beforehand, especially these prep guys. But those are guys that kind of fit that range very, very well.
Okay, duly noted. We'll have to watch for those names on Sunday. Last question here. Pick 6. You're the GM of the Pirates, and you're on the clock. Who are you taking? Maybe this is an easy answer because you just published Mock Draft 3.0 today, but let the Pirates fans know what you're thinking at pick 6.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with what we have on the mock today with Jamie Arnold.
Okay.
And it's much like we talked about at the start of the show, where I trust Pittsburgh's development enough, especially on the pitching side, to really get him back to what he was as a sophomore, where his fastball was just untouchable, getting a lot of chases, a lot of whiffs in the zone. It's a plus slider, and the changeup's taking a step forward this year. Clean up the command. It might be something where, like, for example, Chase Dolander a couple years ago, his draft year, he had some sort of it was a very small hitch in his delivery that really affected his command, especially arm side. That I feel like might be a similar situation with Arnold right now. So if you fix that and he returns to form, I think that's very good value at 6. So as of right now, it'll be Jamie Arnold, and I would have, for me, no regrets doing that and trusting my development team outside of that.
Absolutely. If there's one thing the Pirates can do is develop pitchers. We got them at every level right now. So that would be a great pick. But Tyler, appreciate you coming on. If you want to find his work, go to justbaseball.com. He does all the draft and related stuff, and he's a co-host of On the Clock Pod. Is there anything else you want to plug before we go here?
No, at this moment, no.
Okay, I hit it all. Good. That's good for me.
Yeah. So obviously, I think the only other thing is obviously follow Jared Perkins at JaredCP1 on Twitter. He's the co-host. He is awesome. Other than that, ready for this draft to get going.
Absolutely. Let's do it. All right, Jared. Tyler. we had Jared on for the Royals preview at the beginning of the season. So, but Tyler, appreciate you coming on, man. And we'll have to do this again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm down.
All right, thank you.
Best seats at the Pirates game, they let me run the base. Yeah, my time is like my money, cause I can't afford to waste. Wifey is a lawyer, take my date to my dates, or the steak by the plates and